What's guys, Bryce here, and we're back at it again for another video. And in this video we have some 2SLR highlights from Baku. I'm actually now a full-time driver for 2SLR, driving for the Haas just like in tier 1. And yeah, here is the race that we did. I will be showing you the setup that I'm using because we're pretty much done with Baku, so I will be showing you guys the final basically race setup I'm using for this race. I have 3.6 wings, but for the race I lowered it to 1.5 wings, and transmission 50-57, suspension geometry, see it right here, 1.47825, and that seems to work really good, nice and stable. Brakes 99/50, just on 100, and the tires are pretty interesting. We have all minimum tire pressures except for the front left, which gives good turn in and good reaction with the front left because there's a lot of left hand corners, so that's why I had it like that. And yeah, that is the setup. Just thought I'd show you guys the setup, and yeah, feel free to use it as the final setup I've been using. It's not the one I showed in my video, but there it is for anyone wondering. And going out for our first qualifying lap here. The first lap I didn't get such a good lap time, and this is our last qualifying lap. And going into turn 1, it's all about getting late apexes. I lost a bit of time here, locked up, and we're down a 10th. And if I would have gotten the first sector right, I easily could have gotten in the top 3, but I lost a 1/10 of a second in the first sector. But the third and second sector were really good. We gained back almost 2/10 of a second just from the third and the second sector. As you can see here, we're almost a 1/10 of a second up, and going into this left-hander here, second gear, trying to clip this inside curve there, just missed it a tad, and that compromised a little bit, but the exit was super clean. Going to this corner here, braking right in the middle of 150, taking as much curb as you can on the inside, and short shifting and being super smooth with the throttle. Castle section, super hard section of corners. You pass the walls so quick and so close to those walls. You're all over those curbs there, and they can really unsettle the rear, so trying to stabilize the rear is really crucial. And we're up by 2/10 of a second. Here is where we're going to take a big risk here. Getting close to that wall, going over that corner, over that curb, is taking a big risk because you could easily hit that wall if you're not careful. And I've done it many times in time trial and practice races, trying to get a good exit. As you can see, we're purple in the second sector, which is super good. Being a little aggressive on those curbs, and now we have this long, boring straight to the finish. And yeah, my personal best is a 38.7, I believe, of 38 low 7. And coming across the line here, and we get a 37.9. So, you know, pretty good lap time. Did I say? Yeah, 37.7 is my best lap, and 37.9 I believe was the lap we just got. And now coming up to the start of the grid, P4 with a decent lap time. I'm pretty confident with the start here. And tour lights 3, 4, and 5. Focusing on getting a good exit off the grid, and we put on our ERS, and we get a super good launch off the line here. We go almost down the inside, a little bit of contact, I'm not sure what happened. We go down the inside of our teammate in SLR, but he is not in 2SLR, and we almost have an Alfa Romeo going down the inside. That could have ended pretty bad if you would have gotten the opportunity there. And now first lap, we're just trying to keep it as clean as we can, and breaking at the 100-meter board. And Danico and the AlphaTauri here have just pulled away just a little bit, but I'm trying to keep up with them just so they don't pull away. Danico's the guy who I'm really trying to come in front of because he's always the one I'm battling with in 2SLR. And we have Justin behind us, who is extremely close to us and trying to pull away as best we can, but braking super late into this corner, taking much curb on the inside. In real life, that curb is actually a lot different. I just watched a video on it, and it's actually a lot different in real life, so that's pretty interesting. I guess Codemasters haven't really updated this track in a while, just like a lot of the other tracks. They're not really updated that great, a few years out of date. But anyway, yeah, going this back straight here, another one of these boring straights. We don't take many risks during the race. As you can see, the AlphaTauri in front of us took a risk, but he ended up hitting the wall. So we're super close, and I think here's when we knew our pace was better. I knew on these soft tires my pace was better than him, but I was waiting till that lap 3 where we can get the DRS and get an easy move. Again, we're using 1.5 wings, so I knew that once we were close, we'd easily be able to pass him. Justin behind us is getting really close to us, but we kind of use our ERS so he doesn't get dangerously close. And as you can see, we're trying to break the slipstream from behind, and we successfully do that. And Danico puts in the fastest lap, and then the AlphaTauri puts in the fastest lap. He locks up going into turn 1. And yeah, moving on to lap 4, we finally have DRS in the race. And here's the lap where we're going to push as much as we can just to try to pass him. And we're super close to him at this point. Here, DRS opened for the first time in the race. We finally have it. And he's pretty quick. A lot of these guys on this grid is pretty quick. Justin has dropped down to 5th, and Copy's now in 4th. Right behind us, and he's another quick driver, so I was really trying to push as hard as I could. I wasn't really 100% on the limit, but I was about 95, and that was just so I didn't wear these tires out completely. I wanted these to last as much as you can. As Azerbaijan, the tires won't last that long. They will only last like a 5 or 6 laps, and then they're done. So I was trying to make them last as long as I could. Going through the castle section, the feared castle section, and the section where I did crash last year, so I did not want to make that mistake. A little oversteer that could have ended bad, and trying to keep it together, oversteer from the car in front, and here we're gonna attack. We're gonna put the pressure on him, try to get him to make a mistake and to crack as he just did there, and braking right when that curb ends is a really good point to brake. Super smooth there. He locks up once more, and now we're super close, basically 0.2 of a second, and then we're gonna try to get him on this straight here. Getting a late apex, it's so hard to hit that inside curb when you're carrying a lot of speed, and you really have to be patient. Now we have this little left and then a right here, and then we have this long straight, a really easy place to pass him before the DRS line. I kind of backed off just a slight. I made sure I didn't pass him before the DRS line, so then here I'll be able to get that DRS, and we can get a really easy move, and then we can move to the inside and try to chase Danico down. We are almost 2 seconds, which doesn't seem like a lot, but it kind of is, especially on a track like this where there's a lot of straights and there's not much time. There's time to be made, but it's really getting the good exits on the straights, and yeah, it's pretty difficult to gain time, and this isn't really my favorite track. It's a very mechanical track. It's not like a flowing track. Really excited for Canada next week, so that's going to be pretty awesome. And yeah, going through these next section of corners there, I use the tire marks on the ground as my reference, which is a good reference. I do apologize if the camera is not focused. Sometimes it gets out of focus, it's kind of annoying. Moving on to lap 6, this is where I did go into the pits. So as you can see, we had some bad memories from the SLR race, and the tires are yellow, so hopefully we don't get a puncture. But going to the pits, we absolutely full sended into the pits, almost hit that wall, locked up the tires, and there we go. Successful going into the pits. Now let's hope we don't get held up for some odd reason. Sometimes the game can do that. And we're waiting until we get to our pit stall here. We go in, they take off the soft tires, and they put on the nice hard tires, and we're going to go to the end on these tires unless there's obviously a safety car. And going here now, we need to put in a really good outlap, and it gave me a penalty there. Not a penalty, it gave me a warning there, and I thought I was going to get a penalty, but it gave me a warning. If it would have given me a penalty, I would have been pretty upset because I did not cross it. I just went on the curb on the outside, but it gave me a warning, but luckily we didn't have to pit again during the race. So now is when we need to push as hard as we can to try to undercut Danny, because that's the main guy we want to try to catch here. And braking at the 50, trying to get a late apex, and the exits are really crucial here. When you take an exit in this game, what I'd like to try to do is, once you get to that curb, short shift, just like I did there, and slowly unwind the wheel. And as you're unwinding the wheel, slowly get on that throttle, and that's how we successfully got a decent exit. Clip this curb as much as you can. The snapping of oversteer will be so occurring after every single corner here. And we have a Williams who went wide, and I couldn't see it because the hand was in the way. And luckily he didn't slow us down or anything like that, so I was pretty nervous there, especially through that little section there. And now we have a little straight here, and then braking after that thing, after the little curb. And here's when we take our first risk. Pretty successful going over that curb. I don't know if we gained too much time, but hopefully we gained time. Braking right there, clipping this inside curb nicely, and now we have this long straight. One thing that I do wish is, it would be kind of cool if maybe after the castle section you made a left, and that would be a long left-hander to the front straight, maybe a chicane at the end. I don't know, just a little idea. I feel like this track, it can be kind of boring on this long straight, but that's just my opinion. Some people might like this type of track, but for me, not as flowing as I would have liked. But Danico is in the pits, and he's coming around that first bend, and he does manage to get ahead of us. He's right up there in the distance, and he's just a bit too far ahead. And we have a little back marker here. I don't think he's a back marker. I think he didn't pit. So back marker here. He has a 3-second time penalty, but again, I'm trying to get past as soon as I can because this will really cost us. Danny's already 2.3 in front of us, and we're already on the back of him here. So here we're going to make a move around the outside. And again, we leave as much room as we can, and it worked out good, and he's still there on the outside. Wasn't sure how close he was. I knew he was going to try to make this move, so I thought he was there. Leave plenty of room for him to make that move, but he didn't, and we were able to pull away. And yeah, moving on to lap 9. Here is when the chase is on. We're trying to chase Danny Co as much as we can. The gap is 2 seconds, 2.8, 2.7, but it's just not really going down. It's kind of staying where it is, 2.8 again, and it's super hard for me to catch him and just to try to put in good laps. They just were not quick enough to bring that gap down. The closest we got was 2.4, but he's still just pulled away, and now it's 4 seconds, and we just cannot, bring that gap down. Very quick driver, obviously, so, we're just not quick enough around this track to bring that gap down, and it's 4 seconds, and he did get a 3-second time penalty, but, it's super hard to, it would have been super hard for me to gain that 3 seconds. His tires were a lap newer than mine, and here we make a pass on another back marker on the straight. The DRS helped us just a little bit to get a bit closer to him, but as you can see there, we moved to the inside, and we get a pretty easy pass on the Alfa Romeo. But again, the gap is 3.8, so we need to gain 0.8 if we want to be below that 3-second time penalty that he has, and we could potentially win this race. And I'm in P2 right now, which is really good, but win the race would be the ultimate goal. And as you can see, the gap just went to 8 seconds. After a long period of time, he was just pushing harder than I was. He had a lap newer tires. The setup was possibly better. So yeah, he was able to bring that gap up to 8.8 seconds, and the tires did fall off a bit, as you can see, and I kind of was running a bit low on fuel and ERS, had to do a bit of fuel saving, and now it is lap 25, and we have the AlphaTauri behind us. The one we passed earlier is now on our tail, trying to catch us. He's been behind us this whole race, and I thought I did a really, really great, consistent race so far. Made no mistakes, no penalties, no warnings except for the pit lane warning when I came out the pits, but the laps were super consistent, and now we just need to hold him off for one more lap, which was kind of the issue because I was not able to. He was kind of in the better position here because he has DRS, so he can he's in control right now, because if he makes a move on the last lap, then it will be pretty difficult for me to make the move. And as you can see, we don't use rich fuel mode because we cannot, but he's approaching behind us. I did not defend the move as much as I could have. I feel like maybe I should have defended this a bit more and maybe pushed a bit more, but the reason why I did this is because now on the last lap of the race, we are the ones in control and we have the ERS advantage to try to pass him, but there just was not enough time. So we're trying to get a late apex here, but this is now when he's going to use all of his ERS and pull away. The gap is already half a second just from 2 corners there, and he's already pulled half a second just from the shift of momentum. And we do have DRS, but he's still pretty far in front of us. Our tires are very worn as well. I think the setup wasn't 100% for tire saving, but trying to get late apex here, he misses the apex, but again, we get a little oversteer. And now going through these next couple of corners, we're trying just to keep with him and save our ERS through the middle sector, so that once we come up to the last set of corners, we can get a super good exit, going to the castle section, clipping this very nicely, clipping this inside curb, trying to get a late apex. And I think he has a bit of oversteer there, just a slight bit, but he's pulled away so much, and this is now when we're going to use all of our ERS. We have 62 to use in these last couple of corners. Will we be able to catch him braking super late? We don't take a risk there just because P3 is way better than hitting that wall and being, far down. Trying to get a late apex here, and here is when we're going to use all of our ERS. We have 60%, and here we go on the straight. 60% of ERS is going down super quickly. Rich fuel mode, he's using all of his, and we have the DRS line coming up super soon. The gap is half a second. It's going down to 0.4. Danico has taken the win, and we're not gaining too much. He's definitely used all of his ERS to defend, and we come across the line and we get P3. I'll take P3, I'll take a 3rd place, and that'll give us more points in the 2SLR championship. But, nowhere near Second place, it would have been nice to get that P2. I think I should have defended throughout the whole couple of laps because he probably was going to give it his all on that last lap, but he was following me for basically the whole race, so I do give him props for that. And yeah, he stuck with me, which is really good, and Danico got the win, so congrats to him. And yeah, pretty interesting race, and we're able to get the P3, so pretty happy with that. Thank you guys so much for watching. Hopefully you did enjoy. Really excited for Canada next week. That stream will be on Saturday at 12 p.m. EST. Be sure to tune in for that. Probably post a link in a post in a few days from now, so be sure to check that out. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, guys. Bye bye.